All right, it is Saturday. Bitcoin's just trading sideways. Not too much to talk about when it comes to the price action, and that is why today in this video I wanted to add on to my trading series playlist. And today we're going to be talking all about volume profiles. This is my #1 way to find support and resistance levels on a chart, and today will be spent inside of TradingView, but these same profiles can be used in Trading Light, Exo charts, whatever other trading software you are using. It's all going to be applicable in the same way, and we will be talking about all of your different types of volume profiles you can have, such as your periodic volume profile, right? This is per month, per day, per week. What you're seeing right here are daily volume profiles. We're going to talk about the visible range volume profile. So essentially, anything you're seeing on your chart, it's going to give you the profile of what you can see on the charts over here on the right. And we'll discuss another one of my favorites, which is fixed range volume profile. So you can see it's a tool I have up here. You can find it right here on TradingView. It's over here on the left, and you can pull whatever range you want to see the volume profile of. So let's say I want to see, high to high up here. Where's the value area low? Okay, it's right there. This could be a big resistance point. And you can see the value area low of this range is this like pink line that I have down here at the bottom. And if we were to put a horizontal line on that, you can see it stretches out here. And you can see this level does act as support and resistance. After we get out of the range, you can see us back testing these levels here pretty perfectly. And this is not something I planned. I just pulled this right now and saw that on the chart in real time, just because I know pulling visible ranges high to high is a thing that can be pretty valid, and it can show you where those big levels are. So how can you implement this into your trading? And let's start with the visible range, since I just pulled it and it ended up being a perfect support and resistance line. So let's remove the other volume profiles for now. Let's talk about this visible range. First off, you're going to notice if you pull this up yourself, it's not going to look the same as mine. What I've gone ahead and done is added the row size of 224. This is not an exact number at all. You can do kind of whatever you want here, but the higher it is, the more detailed it's going to be. Somewhere in the 200s seems to work pretty well for me. Everything else here is left the same though. We go over to style. You'll see I have ticked on VAH, VAL, and POC. What are these? Value area high, value area low, and point of control. Added these colors, and of course this is all just personal preference, but I would go ahead and tick on these lines so you do have them. And then I've also made the histogram box just 0 opacity. I think that looks a lot cleaner on the chart. But those are all the settings for the visible range. And now when you do pull this, where are you pulling it, right? Does it have to be from high to high? Can it be, high to low? Like this? Can it just be random? Just anywhere in here counts? And while yeah, technically it will work, you can kind of pull it from wherever depending on the time frame you're using. But what I recommend is you try to identify a range first before pulling this thing, either a range or a downtrend. So if it is a steady downtrend like we're seeing right now, you can see this is clearly not a range, but a fixed range would actually be very useful in this case. You just pull it from high to low down here on the downtrend, and this will give you the volume of the downtrend. You can see where your support and resistance is. So we can see here the value area low of this downtrend is sitting right up here at around 65,500. That is also in a big imbalance level. You will see, within this candle here, that is a big inefficiency in the chart. Right within here can be represented as a fair value gap. I know there's going to be single prints in this area. This is somewhere we could find resistance, especially when confluenced with that volume level. So you want to be watching out for this level right here. This could be a potential short area if we were to get up into there, and the main confluence I'd be using for that is this fixed range of the downtrend here. Now let me go ahead and remove this line over here. This was, if you remember, from the fixed range up at our top end range there. We don't really need that anymore, already talked about it. But let me give an example of how this actually played out in previous price action. If we were to hit the replay mode here on our chart, pretend we're down at this low, right back here, right? We're looking to take a short because we think the downtrend is going to continue, right? The trend is your friend to the end of the trend. And we can see pulling our fixed range from high up here to the low right there. We get a very similar thing to what we were just looking at. A value area low into a big imbalance zone within these vector candles here. So this is a potential area where you're going to be thinking about taking a short if you see other confluences in your order flow, that sort of thing. So we'd want to mark this out right there, and as we can see, if we do go ahead and play it here, let me speed this up, and you can see if we play it here, that acted as beautiful resistance closing our hourly candles right below that level. And once you saw that swing fail of the volume level, that could have been your indication to short it if you were seeing other confluences in your order flow like I was just talking about. Now, what about using the fixed range on like an actual range, kind of like this formation we're making here on Bitcoin? You can see this is a massive range we have been in for the last couple of months. And if we were to go ahead and pull a fixed range from the start to the end of this thing, you can see our value areas within here. You can see we have a clear rejection off of the value area high, and with these volume profiles, if you reject a value area high, it is likely to magnet down to the value area low. So we could expect price to come all the way down to $60 to $800, and this is a potential level to be looking for support once again, especially because we did reject off of the point of control as well. That point of control was right at the value area low of this downtrend that we had just talked about. So yeah, very possible price does come all the way down here, and this right here is a potential level you could be looking to take a long position. But if you've been watching the channel, you know I actually don't expect us to get down that low. I think we're going to flip these highs back into support, and if we were to get down here, I actually think we would probably turn this into resistance and flip it, because we have a lot of poor lows back down at this level that would probably start getting hunted towards if we are going for that liquidity. But that's besides the point. We can also get a very quick wick down there where it does happen extremely fast and we don't really lose the bullish structure here. That would be totally acceptable for a continuation higher on Bitcoin. But yes, this is how you can pull fixed ranges of a range just like this. You'd want to mark out your value areas within here, and you want to be watching for this stuff to act as support and resistance. We can also find support and resistance on our low volume areas. So low volume gaps can either fill extremely fast, or they can act as support and resistance in a very similar way to how inefficiencies and imbalances work in a chart. We can see the lowest volume gap of this profile is in fact where price is right now, and this is another reasoning for me thinking we have already found support where we should be finding it, and I do actually expect us to bounce off of this low volume area within the profile, as you can see right here. So visible ranges are an amazing tool, as we can see, but not only can we pull fixed ranges from the chart, we also have this visible range. So this visible range is going to show you essentially the exact same stuff that a fixed range will if you're looking at the exact same price action. And what's nice about it is you don't have to manually take a tool out to measure it. You can just start looking at different places on the chart to decipher what the volume is within that area. As you can see right now, if I were to move my chart, so I'm only looking at the range that we had pulled the fixed range from, and I do go ahead and pull that fixed range just like we had earlier, you can see these volume levels of the fixed range are going to be exactly the same as the visible range volume profile. But just be careful you're not getting price action like this mixed up within it, because it will throw off your values, as you can see right here. But yeah, these levels are going to act in the exact same way, and it's nice because you can just kind of zoom in on where you want to see that range, very locally here. If we want to just find what's the downtrend from this high to this low, as well as current price action. You can see right now we are battling with this point of control, and you can kind of just mess around with this, look at different ranges to see what levels we might be accepting or rejecting. You can see right now, value area low is being rejected right now. This is looking more bearish just on a volume basis when we are looking at these visible range here. Oh, and to find that visible range, by the way, you just go up here, look up VRVP, and you will see the visible range volume profile up here in the indicators. And then next, what we cover is the periodic volume profile. And to find this, you will just look up PVP, and this will give you volume profiles for a whole bunch of different time frames that you can manually select. So what we're looking at right now is a daily volume profile, and to set it to a day, I went into the periodic volume profile. You can see once again value area low, value area high, point of control, all of this stuff is checked on, and I have different colors for this versus my other volume profiles so I can differentiate them, right? And then over here in the inputs, the row size still the exact same, around the 200 level, you should be good. And then the most important thing is that up here at the top, you will see the period you're looking at. So the three I recommend are daily, weekly, and monthly. So as you can see here, if we were to just switch it to a weekly, you can see it pushes back the volume profile to the start of the week, and you can understand what price action has been doing throughout the week or throughout the month. So let's go ahead and look at this daily volume profile for a second so you can get a gist of what I'm talking about and how it can show you different stuff on the charts. As you saw before, we were rejecting the visible range volume profiles pretty cleanly. You know, it looked very bearish. But when we go ahead and pull up the daily, you can see we are still holding the value area low of the day. I will say I don't really like these lows because they are poor, right? Whenever you have lows where you don't have a tailing wick, essentially, you know, coming through here, actually breaking, you know, sweeping this low within here, it makes it a bad low. So, you know, normally you want to sweep this stuff and get back above to actually claim that low is good and that we don't need to go ahead and sweep that. That's on a liquidity basis, not really what we're talking about today. But you can see this volume profile is extremely tight. That's because it's Saturday. Historically, when we get weekends, usually you will see a very tight volume profile as compared to, you know, Friday or Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, right? During the week, you get more drastic price action. Price action is more volatile when traditional finance is open, whereas on the weekends, people don't really want to be messing around with trading Bitcoin. It usually just consolidates during these time frames. So that's something to note. But what I really want to talk about with these daily volume profiles is naked point of control, naked value area highs and lows, because that's what differentiates these from visible or fixed ranges that you can't really do with those, is that this shows us untapped levels from previous days. So what do I mean by that? Well, we can see here our previous value area low and point of control of a couple days ago goes ahead and stops here on price because it's been tested by price, whereas this value area high from 3 days ago still has this line extending out throughout here. What is this? Is a naked point of control, and I should have mentioned this actually. To see these naked points of control, you'll want to make sure you have extend POC value area low to the right. If this stuff is turned off, you will not see the naked point of controls. So make sure you have all of these checked so you can actually see these levels. And essentially these are untapped levels that were created in a previous day. You can see the day closed right here on the open of this profile, and we never went up and tested this previous day's value area high, and it is likely for that level to act as big support and resistance. This also happens to confluence with the fair value gap where those imbalances are, as well as that fixed range volume profile that we had pulled at the beginning of this video. If you pull swing high, swing low of the macro range, you see the value area low is right next to this. So you'd go ahead and know that this is a big level in here where price could get rejected at. So we need to be watching it, and it could be a level for a potential short, or it could be a level for a potential long. If we were to get back above this and start flipping it into support, well, that's going to be very bullish. So flipping this stuff back into support can be a sign of strength, and you can actually kind of long off of it. Although I will say I don't like trading breakouts and backtest, although they can work if you are trading the backtest, right? You never trade breakouts because most of the times you will break through a level and swing fail it, and that's bearish. But if you are to break out backtest levels, it can be valid. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather just get in on swing failures of support like we had back down here, like we had down here. But just throwing that out there, right? That is a possibility of something that can happen, and I kind of expect it to happen just based on where liquidity is. If price is to accept up here, we are probably going to see more cascading liquidations to the upside, hunting all the way to like $75,000. But yes, you can see naked untapped value area highs coming up throughout here. We see a naked point of control. We see some more value area highs, more points of control as value area highs. So we have a lot of resistance levels to be looking at when we do start coming up here on price. These can all be theoretical potential short levels. Again, you're going to be using other confluences like order flow to actually take those trades. You don't just place blind limits at these volume levels. You will get wrecked doing that. Now what we'll do is we'll cover the weekly and monthly. As you can guess, these are going to be essentially the exact same thing, used the exact same way at least, but they're going to be covering different time frames. So let's go ahead and actually make this real quick because I just put these here on my charts so you can see how I do it. We'll go ahead and do period on weekly. So every week this will make a new volume profile. We'll extend all of this stuff to the right. Row size, I'm going to do 224, and then we'll want to enable value area high, value area low. I'm just going to leave the rest of the settings the same. Of course, change the looks of it yourself, the colors of stuff. This histogram box I like to remove, whatever looks the cleanest to you. But yeah, essentially we are seeing these weekly volume levels right now, and you can see we're holding the weekly value area low very nicely. This is a much better confluence than just holding the daily value area low, because obviously when you're within a day, what price action does within that day is going to affect the levels much more versus a week. If price were to swing down, it would actually start going below the value area low. It would not start changing this level. It's much more set in stone, if you will. Although I will say if it's Monday or Tuesday, you're going to be moving the week's volume profile profile a lot more because, Sunday into Monday is when that week is opening every week. So the volume profile will be resetting, and that's something to take note of. Because it is Saturday, I know this weekly profile is pretty much set in stone and it's not going to be changing a whole lot. So accepting this value area low into support is actually a pretty good sign to see here. And as you can probably guess, because it is an entire week's worth of volume, it will usually act as a greater level of support and resistance. Price will have a harder time getting through it than your daily points of controls. So these are all pretty big levels to be watching for. And as you can see, once again, within this fair value gap, where that vector candle, rip through price, creating those imbalances, we see a third volume level, and this one is actually higher than the last two. You can see if I were to turn on these dailies and actually draw this out for you, because we might as well, just so you can visualize it. You'll see we have 3 different volume levels within here, and you don't really know which one is going to be acting as support or resistance. And because we have this big box of volume, what you want to be watching out for is if we were to, let's say, swing fail this top level and it looks good for a short, you could short this. It's valid as long as you have good order flow, but you want to be watching for this bottom level, because this could start flipping into support. And if we go ahead and start flipping this stuff back into support, then that could be a sign that, hey, maybe all of it's going to get flipped into support and we are going to continue up here. So be watching out for that. Whereas if we were to maybe swing fail all of these levels at once, like a swift move coming up through here, then yeah, you have much more confidence to actually start taking those shorts because you have less areas of support below you at that point. But yeah, back to the weekly profile. As you can see, these are all of your support and resistance lines on the chart, and you can see below us we have some untapped value area lows as well on the chart. So if we were to come down, one more time, maybe sweep that low, this could be a potential area for a long. Lastly, we will go ahead and make another volume profile. This one is going to be for your month. So we'll go ahead and turn that to month. Do the same settings here that we had for the last one. Again, go ahead and mess around with this stuff. Change the colors to your liking, that sort of thing. But you can see here with the month, much greater volume profile. And you can see we are actually below all of these support lines here. So we want to see this actually get reclaimed. And this is something you're going to be watching out for. If you are thinking about taking a short here, but you see this value area low get reclaimed into very nice support, then that could be a warning sign that you are actually building strength to break this level and start flipping this into support, rather than if we were to have just come up here without actually back testing this. And that could be a sign that because we never got that back test to confirm buyers, that this might just roll over and we flip it back into resistance. So a lot of different stuff to be looking at with these volume profiles, a lot of different ways they can play out. At the end of the day, it's all probabilities, but these volume levels are legitimately areas where you do find real support and resistance, because it is based off of buyers and sellers in previous price. So just for fun, we'll turn all of these back on so we can see all of the volume profiles we just covered. And as you can see, it makes your screen very cluttered, but you do have all your levels to the upside and downside to use as confluence. And that is why I have 2 different charts that I use. I have my levels identifier, which has all my levels similar to this, and then I have my edge identifier where I try to identify, just RSI, divs, that sort of thing. I'm mainly identifying my edges on professional trading software like Trading Light or ExoCharts, but as you can see up here, I have my edge identifier, which looks like this, and I have my monthly volume profile within here, as well as the visible range volume profile, because they don't really clutter my screen quite too much. I have, market cipher that's very dumbed down because I'm not a huge fan of market cipher. I just think it is kind of a nice indicator compared to most of them on TradingView. And then the RSI, which is one of my main confluences that I do use to look for divergences. And then I have this other template called level identifier, and this has more of those volume levels as well as all the imbalances as we were talking about with those fair value gaps, that sort of thing. And this is the level we had talked about throughout the video that could be acting as that support or resistance flip within here, denoted by these 2 volume levels as well as this big fair value gap within here. So yeah, I think in this video I covered volume levels pretty well, but of course if you do have any questions about anything I talked about or just want to join the community for this channel, link to my Discord is in the description down below. I'm also running a limited time event right now with BingX. If you do futures trade, there's a ton of cool bonuses you can get using my sign up link down below in the description, so make sure to go check that out as well. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.